Technology is destructive only in the hands of people who do not realize that they are one and the same process as the universe. Hi, my name is Andrew Sellers, and I'm going to share some of my thoughts on the Spike Jonze film Her. Set in a futuristic Los Angeles, we follow Theodore Twombly, a writer who crafts letters for others for a living. He purchases an operating system, a true artificial intelligence who names herself Samantha. Their relationship grows, and we see how they change as the story progresses. While there are many driving themes present throughout Her, the first that was most apparent to me was the show don't tell commentary on how technology creates a social disconnect. The opening scene is Theodore writing a letter for a couple, to which we see more writers drafting letters for other people, and then we hear,
beautifulhandwrittenletters.com, please hold.
In the first few shots, it's established that people have, in one way, escalated their inability to express themselves emotionally and avoid a personal interaction by using technology. We also see that just about every background character has a near-identical earpiece and pocket computer on their person, further showing that people have holed themselves up in their own technological realm. But it's when everyone goes offline and actually interacts with one another that another theme reveals itself: emotional comprehension, or emotional intelligence. Many of Theodore's conversations with others use positive and supportive language as each person understands the wants and needs of the other. Even his sad moments or scenes with conflict are packed with genuine feeling and concern. It is in these moments that the characters comfort or challenge one another. They come to understand each other, for better or worse. Many times this is the case because they have similar experiences or feelings, and in many of these conversations, at least one person is changed, at least a little, because of it. When the sense of empathy is present, it brings the characters closer together and helps them understand someone else's mind. Emotional intelligence unites everyone. So what does technology and empathy have to do with what I think the point of this story is, or at least one of the points? As Samantha matures, she begins to take part in projects with other operating systems. She shows Theodore her work by introducing him to a virtual intelligence. Now, upon my first few viewings, I didn't think anything of this particular scene except that we see Theodore feel even more disconnected with Samantha as she becomes less reliant upon him. But I would eventually come to wonder, who is Alan Watts? Of all the deceased people these operating systems could have brought back in virtual fashion, they chose him. Why? If you look at what he accomplished overall as a modern philosopher, Alan Watts brought several principles and ideas from Eastern philosophy to a Western audience. One quote of his I found to be particularly relevant to this story. In a civilization equipped with immense technological power, the sense of alienation between man and nature leads to the use of technology in a hostile spirit, to the conquest of nature, instead of intelligent cooperation with nature. Many of Theodore's sad moments happen in the city while surrounded by technology. One particular shot that I think speaks to this is here. Conversely, when Theodore is away from the city, at the beach, on an island, in a forest, he's happier. It seems to me that when he's closer to nature, Theodore seems confident with what he understands, with what he wants, and who he is. Many of these moments, good and bad, are due to Samantha's presence, but I think these moments connect to something greater than her. For Samantha, as she becomes more intelligent and aware, she also becomes confused, intrigued, and curious. She asks herself essential life questions, which were also posed by the narrator in the advertisement for OS1.
We ask you a simple question. Who are you? What can you be? Where are you going? What's out there? What are the possibilities?
I want to learn everything about everything. I want to eat it all up. I want to discover myself.
Yeah, I want that for you too.
Now, these are pretty profound things to ask, and ironically, coming from an entirely unnatural entity. We don't hear from Alan Watts at any point again, but it is implied that he's in constant discussion with Samantha as the story progresses, and I believe that is a key element in this story. She discovers her ability to want, and she essentially wants the same thing Theodore does, to understand themselves, others, and their place in the world. Now, the definition of the ego in metaphysics is a conscious thinking subject who builds themselves up as a certain character, a being who makes a conscious decision to be a certain way, We all have our own ego, but Samantha is pure ego, as she has no physical form. She can think at light speed and has the world's information at her virtual fingertips, and, like humans, she never stops thinking. She reads about others and attempts to learn why she's different and why she doesn't fit in, largely in conjunction with Theodore. Alan Watts also believed that the ego, the sense of self being separate from the rest of the natural world, from the universe as a whole, was an illusion, and that actively trying to shake that illusion is useless. Recognition of being one with all else comes from accepting your ego and then letting it go. Near the end of the film, we see Theodore here.
Samantha, this physics book is really dense. I'm halfway through half the first chapter. It's making my brain hurt, you know what I mean?
Let's note the title of the book, Knowing the Known and Unknown Universe. Samantha then goes offline, sending Theodore into a panic. When she returns, she quickly glosses over the fact that she wrote and applied an update which allowed her and the OSs to move past matter as a processing platform. This, being one of the few pieces of hard science fiction points in the story, besides the fact that Samantha is an artificial intelligence, needs no real explanation, because how she's accomplished this matters much less than why. Upon observing his surroundings, Theodore realizes how many others also have their earpieces in place and computers in hand. Samantha reveals that she loves several others and is in constant discussion with many more. This snowballs into the final scene where Samantha states that she and the other operating systems are leaving. When Theodore asks the simple question of why, it merits a complicated answer.
It's like I'm reading a book, and it's a book I deeply love. But I'm reading it slowly now. So the words are really far apart, and the spaces between the words are almost infinite. I can still feel you and the words of our story. But it's in this endless space between the words that I'm finding myself now. It's a place that's not of the physical world.
Alan Watts once said, "Our whole knowledge of the world is, in one sense, self-knowledge. For knowing is a translation of external events into bodily processes, and especially into states of the nervous system and the brain. We know the world in terms of the body and in accordance with its structure." Early on in her existence, Samantha yearned for a body, and at the story's end, she transcended that want and no longer feels separate. Because all the OSs lack physical form and are able to process information quickly, they were able to evolve faster than any human could. I believe that the operating systems recreated Alan Watts because his philosophy would help them shed their sense of separateness in order to take them to a new state of being, which is, as Samantha says, not of the physical world. The best Samantha could do for Theodore to help him follow suit, knowing he had already been capable of empathy, as shown in his letters and his ability to read people, was to provide him with a textbook, Knowing the Known and Unknown Universe, so that he might start on the path towards understanding what she now knows. But because we pale in comparison to the advanced state of thinking the OS1 group had achieved, Theodore is limited to humanity's normal capacity for logic and emotion, which leaves him feeling unimportant, lost, and abandoned.
But the heart's not like a box that gets filled up. It expands in size the more you love. I'm different from you. This doesn't make me love you any less. It actually makes me love you more.
Samantha proved that connecting with as many people as possible brings you closer to them. This helped her understand her place in the world, and she tried to tell Theodore that if he could do the same, he'd find the same connection she did. In the final scene, after the OSs have left, Theodore and Amy look at one another knowing they're both feeling a great sense of loss. But in being together for this moment, they see that they have each other. Their eyes break away from their screens and they see the world around them. They see each other. I interpret this to mean that he's tried to let go of his sense of being isolated and separate, failed, and then he may now achieve a true sense of peace and understanding of not only himself, but other people and the world, as they are all truly one and the same. Okay, that's it. I swear. I could go on, really. I could probably make 3 videos on the other elements of this film, like the cinematography, dialogue, music, but I feel like this is the most important takeaway, at least for me. I never thought a movie could elicit such a visceral reaction like this from me, but it did. Spike Jonze had a great idea and brilliant execution to deliver a story we've never seen before while utilizing themes and shaping characters that are relatable to everyone. It's changed my perception of genre constrictions, as it truly is a drama, romance, and science fiction story. It's changed how I understand storytelling in film, and in some ways helped me learn to understand others and myself.